When people say give 110%, I mean, it sounds good, it sounds heroic, right? But that's not humanly possible.
Purpose driven living, that's the motto. Purpose driven living, boy, that's the motto. If God orders my steps, then I'ma follow. We just steward the gifts that we borrow. Purpose driven living.
Ray, I want to pivot a little bit, man, because you shared a lot about your faith, your background, and it's sort of interwoven. Like, I think that you've done a phenomenal job of being very mindful and strategic as you make decisions for your family. You in your independent life of faith, you strategically as a career person, but obviously a huge role for you, a huge part of your identity as a ministry leader, right?
Yeah.
And we've walked alongside each other, obviously with football, but I've been able to watch you through serving Fellowship of Christian Athletes at JMU. And so you've sort of wanted to be the first person that I've watched model what leadership looks like. Obviously you have a whole nother career, like you're in organization development. So I saw sort of the nuances for balancing, your professional career and serving in ministry. So I'm curious to hear from you a little bit about, the importance for you, like, to be able to serve in I guess in regards to faith community or building faith within other people. What is that? How does that sort of come about with you along the lines from you being an athlete to a professional person now? How is that important? How has it looked? And just tell us a little bit about the importance in serving in ministry.
Yeah. So one of the beauties of anybody who's ever been a collegiate athlete, you're thrown in and you're kind of forced into the opportunity, I would say, to learn how to manage all of your time, like literally all of your time. And you start to, and you're put in a situation where you have to make every part of your day productive, from 5:30 a.m. right, when you're in the weight room,
no question,
to 7:30 to 9:30 when you're in study hall, right? And then for any of us who are still acting up, then that party time, you got to manage. That's time too. I was planning that party time too. So
you got to fit it in.
Yeah. So I think I'm just grateful that I was thrusted into 4 or 5 years of that, because I do think that translated over well into my capacity to kind of take on some of these different roles. I don't like to use the word balance, because let's just be honest, the reality of how life works at any given time on any given season, some area of your life is getting more than you than the other.
Right.
So it's just being intentional and deliberate about what that means. And then along the way, given whatever area or commitment you have, just being honest with individuals who you're obligated to or you're serving, kind of where you're coming from.
Right.
What I've learned, and I've gotten counsel and mentorship about this, is sometimes you're just so gifted in an area of just in a way, your 60% look like 100% to everybody that you're serving. So I've had to learn not to feel guilty because I'm not giving 100% to something, because that's not realistic. We're not 100% of in one thing. We're split,
Hi, at Lenore Coaching, we work with a wide variety of job seekers, including students, early career professionals, and experienced professionals, with services including job search strategy, career exploration, personal branding, networking, interview preparation, as well as resume and cover letter writing. So you guys can contact us first by reaching out to our website, which is www.lenorecoaching.com.
You can also contact us via social media. We have Instagram and Facebook pages, Lenore Coaching LLC.
When people say give 110%, I mean, it sounds good, it sounds heroic, right? But that's not humanly possible. We've only been created with 100%, and we divvy that up at any given time. If you want to say you're giving 100%, I think it's probably fair to say at any given time you're fully present. Now, I think that's fair, and I think you aim to do that. You aim to live a life where wherever you are, you can be intentionally engaged there. When you're at the point where you're in one area of life or one event and you're already thinking about the next, or you're blending over, I think that might be an unhealthy spot. And I found myself in those spots plenty of times. And so that's something that I'm guilty of. That's something that I have to continue to be mindful of. I was gifted the opportunity to help, be the chaplain for the JMU football team for 2 years. And that was a huge job. I felt like it was the right thing to do. It was a lot of fruit that bore from that. And I had a full-time job. And at the time, my wife was working full-time. We just had our second kid, and our third kid was about to be on the way, and I was serving at the church. And I realized pretty quickly that my family wasn't getting the best of me. And that was a no-no, because if anybody knows me, my number one goal in life is to be a good husband and a good dad. And I thought I was doing that, but I wasn't. And so it was hard. And I mean, if I can be again vulnerable, like I did it with tears, but I had to let go of the role as a chaplain of the football team. I still love the guys. I still stay connected with a lot of guys. I think that ministry still is, and when I say ministry, meaning like the labor of what I was doing then still is bearing a lot of fruit today. There's some guys out there doing some great stuff that I got to walk with, but most importantly, who needed me was my wife and my kids and my home. And then I think, my job and my ministry at my job at church. So, I think for anybody who's driven, who is ambitious, it's probably a wise thing that pretty regularly you stop and pause and just ask yourself, am I putting my energies in the right place? Because at any given time, it can catch up to you pretty quickly if you don't stop and assess. But I think if you think about the order of how life works in general, I think we use a car as an analogy. If you don't stop and get your oil change, your car is going to wreck. So at any point, or get a checkup. So at any point, we need to stop and oil change our life, check up what we got going on, and then maybe have to redirect or adjust. And then the analogy I more often use is it's the pruning process. If anybody's not familiar with the pruning process, it's a process used when you're cutting down parts of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting part when you're doing that, you're actually cutting off stuff that's living, that's good.
Yeah.
But the intent is to create space for it to grow even more. And so I think more often than not, there's a lot more pruning to our lives that we need to be doing more regularly.
Yeah.
And being okay that you let go of something that was good for something greater. And so just taking the time to kind of reevaluate your life at different junctures throughout the year. I think quarterly is probably fair to say.
Yeah.
And then just having the confidence to take a step forward, appropriately have those conversations with those people you're obligated with. I know I have to do that because I have this thing where I love to please people. And so I have to kind of just pause and say, the person I first need to please, if there's somebody to please, is my wife and my kids. Well, I'm first obligated to. And then beyond that, because I do feel like I'm called to help build the kingdom, is just serving in my local community, that way being my church. And so it's not always balanced, but it's always, for me, it's always intentional,
right,
and deliberate. So I'm not perfect at it. I think I have to always keep checking. And I ask people into my life to look at my life too and say, hey, what do you see where I'm off balance a little bit, or where I can grow? And I give people the opportunity to take shares and help me prune my life. So it's been good, man. It's been a good process.
It's good, man.
Yeah, it's humbling because again, you're opening yourself up to feedback, to people, helping you along the way. But you're not going to be who I think you're fully called to be unless you're allowing other people to kind of help you along the way in those ways.
Hey family, it's your boy Quintrell Lenore here with brand new merch to keep you guys looking good this season. We have long sleeve, short sleeve, as well as hoodies. Check us out at gumroad.com/PDL apparel. We got all the swag you need to stay covered in purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the things you shared, man, is so you kind of given us this big picture of what your life looks like in terms of your career, your family, and you serving as a ministry leader. And one of the things that you shared was the challenges that come along with navigating that. And you're very transparent about not using the word balance. It sounds like, there's a level of sacrifice and intentionality that comes with what you're choosing to do with your time. And so that's something to be said. I hope that folks can take away. I guess I take a little bit step back in this regards is really figuring out what is your why in terms of being a ministry leader, Ray? Because, you being a believer, you being a Christian, like I think the listeners hear that, they see like, man, this is a man of God. he's trying to serve first his family, serve his community. So folks understand that. But the why aspect is like, you know, or why not just be a pastor or preacher? Why not focus in the area? Or why don't you just, you know, focus on just, you know, being an organization development professional? So that's I guess the why question I'm curious to hear from you is, when you sort of slice your life in those different areas, why do you choose to do it that way?
Yeah, can I tell you, for all y'all out there listening, that is a running I don't want to call it a dilemma, but that's a running dialogue I'm having with myself and mentors in my life right now. I've heard a lot of different answers. You know, it is the case that some people are just, from a capacity standpoint, are called to be able to do multiple things. You know, for anybody out there is a person of faith, and to the extent where you think you need to be in ministry, everything is ministry. And so I think that's part of my why I'm still in the workforce is, you know, there's a lot of people who I get to work with just by way of being who I am. I help bring kind of level of value to their life that helps bring their life back on a better path without me even having to do anything or say anything. I'll give you an example. I have a colleague who he started 3 years ago. And one of the things I implemented on my team is that at some point in a meeting, we all give words of affirmation based on what happened the last week. And it was just like, man, we just go around, we say, thank you for that thing you did. And it's one of the most unifying things we do on our team. And literally, we maybe about 6 months went by, and I remember we were just talking. He said, "Man, one of the most profound things that's happened to me since I started working here is now I found myself saying thank you to my wife for just doing stuff."
Wow.
And he never did that before. So only bring that up as it's moments like that that make it clear that I need to still be in the marketplace, if I can put it that way, working. Yeah, and then for whatever it's worth, just a young Black African American professional is just rare in the marketplace too.
Yeah.
And so I don't take that lightly, and so I take a lot of pride in the opportunity that God has given me to steward in who I am, and so that's there. While at the same time, hey, if I would be lying if I didn't say, man, I also really love what the power of the preached word does in people's hearts when they hear it. The power of somebody being able to feel cared for unconditionally by the family of God. And then honestly, you know, I come from such a broken upbringing. And I can see just a lot of my folks in my family and friends from back home just kind of still dying inside.
Yeah.
And the fact that I, by the grace of God, have been given this gift of life, I just want that for everybody now.
Wow.
So, you know, do I have to be in formal ministry to make that happen? I don't. But if I could be given 100%, most of my energy towards that.
Hey, what's going on, family? Do not forget to check out the music that inspired the movement, PDL. This project is by yours truly, Quintrell Lenore. It's streaming on all major platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you name it, go check it out. This project was produced by Dilly Got It Bumpin'. It's awesome music to help you guys stay motivated and to worship in this season.
You know, I do think there's some value and some gifts I can kind of offer kind of more in that direction. But until God like makes it clear that I need to step out in one way or another, I'm gonna continue to run this race in these multiple different places. But the beauty of what I feel like, again, with how things have been orchestrated, I don't have to be a different person in any setting.
Wow.
Maybe the content might be a little different, but the character of who I am and how I operate doesn't change. I can operate in my gift in the same way everywhere I'm at. Wow. So that if you can align life up in that way, which is not always realistic, then that's a great thing. So that's what I have. So I don't actually never really feel tension. Yeah.
Man, that's solid, man. It's funny, Ray, because I almost named this series, instead of it being named Driven, I was going to name it Congruence, right? A part of me wanted to figure out, like, how do you make all of these aspects of our identity congruent? I think you illustrated the best, man, right? No matter if your thing that you're trying to operate in is just family, or if it's just your vocation, or it's just your creative craft or business, right? Do it to the best of your abilities through God, right? And that's what I'm picking up from you, man. It's like it's no sort of change in what you're doing or how you're doing in terms of being a husband, a father, you know, organization development professional, all these different areas. You know, you're doing it to the best of your ability. So this is level of congruence in terms of the character and the values that you display. And, you know, what I appreciate on top of that is it's not easy, right? It's not being completely vulnerable, figuring out how to make this work. We're going to stay away from the B word, the bad word.
That's
right?
fine, man.
But it's not easy, but I appreciate the level of faith in you trying to be congruent with your mission as you do it, man. So it's big ups to you for that.
Purpose driven living.